Okay, so practice test number 2. Here we go through almost the same steps again. Number 1, common error people made on the test is they didn't read the givens. They just looked at the drawing and figured they just look at what it looked like. You don't do that. You identify the givens on the drawing and base it from there. Looks can be deceiving. So here if AB is parallel to BC, there's your parallel, and AD is congruent to BC. There's that. So now you have this situation. You might only think it's a trapezoid, just a pair of parallel lines, but you gotta remember number 5 on the sufficient conditions of a parallelogram. If one pair of sides is parallel and congruent, then it's a parallelogram. So that was the answer for this right here, parallelogram. Oops. Now, you might not have that particular one on your test, but a lot of people miss it because they didn't write down the given information and go from there. This is the exact same one for your practice test. No excuse for missing this, yet a lot of people didn't get the full 4 credits. They didn't name all of them. Starts the rhombus, and you go up from rhombus to a kite to a quadrilateral, and then over diagonal to the parallelogram and up to the trapezoid. Okay, number 3, all sides are equal, so I look at the ones that have the y's with them, set them equal to each other. The ones that have the x's with them, set them equal to each other. Solve. And it said classify the quadrilateral as specific as possible. This is a square. So there was a blank on the test for you to put that in there. And yet a lot of people did not do that. Left it blank. Square is 1 point, and each of these is 3 points total. Okay. Um, so classify the quadrilateral as specific as possible. That's the way you could read it on the DCAS. Okay. Another name is name the most specific quadrilateral. It'll be one of these 2 formats. They are saying the same thing. Number 4, this quadrilateral is a rectangle, it tells me. So that means it's a parallelogram with opposite sides congruent and 4 right angles. You know your properties of a rectangle. And one of the properties is that the diagonals are congruent. And they bisect each other since the parallelogram. So that means these 2 are congruent and these 2 are congruent. It's the same ones. They're all the same. Okay, so y, x, z, this thing right here, 49 degrees. Well, since this is 90 degrees, 90 minus 49 is 41 for right here. Well, we just said since these bisect each other and they're congruent, therefore this is an isosceles triangle right here. So base angles are congruent, the isosceles triangle theorem. So since that's 41, that's 41. And this right here is a triangle. So 41 plus 41 is 82. Subtract that from 180 and you get 98 degrees for WPX right here. And then lastly, XZ, the whole diagonal is 12. Well, we only want to half it, PY. So half 12 is 6. Number 5, you have the formula n minus 2 times 180. You got to memorize that. It's the total interior angles. So n meaning the number of sides. Pentagon is 5, minus 2 is 3. Times 180 is 540 degrees. So that's the sum of all the interior angles. You divide that by 5 for the pentagon. I should see that work. 540 divided by 5. You can put in a calculator after that. I should see it written there. Or whatever your numbers are for yours. 108. And then we know the interior plus the exterior is supplementary because it forms a line. It's a linear pair. So 180 minus 108, that'd be my work right there. For this one is 72. These must add to 180. Supplementary. Again, you knew this from the last practice test. Number 6, okay, we have the sum of the interior angles of a convex polygon. This is the same thing as fine. Well, being convex doesn't mean it has to be regular, okay? But we're not asking for the interior angles in this particular case. So we have n minus 2 times 180. That's always the sum of the interior angles, whether it's convex polygon or regular polygon, okay? So again, n minus 2 times 180 equals 540. Divide by 180 on both sides, and you get 3. Add the 2 across, n is 5. So it's the exact same thing. It's a pentagon. Okay, which we could have got in this case for this practice one. You see the 540 and the 540 right there. So you know it's a pentagon. Okay, it's probably not going to be like that on your test. It'll be different numbers. Find the number of sides and of a regular polygon. So that's when we need to know if each interior angle is 175, then every exterior angle will be the same. That's why we need to know that it's regular. So remember, the interior and the exterior are supplementary. So 180 minus 175 is 5 degrees for the exterior angle. If you remember the exterior angle, all the exterior angles add up to 360 degrees. So 5 goes into 360 how many times? 72. You could have also set up the equation 360 divided by n equals 5. So I cross multiply, I get 5n equals 360 divided by 5, and I get 72 degrees. 72 sides, not degrees. 72 sides. Number 7, properties of a parallelogram. Opposite angles are congruent and consecutive angles are supplementary, also called same side interior angles. Okay, so set those equal each other. If you don't have that memorized, you can't do the problem at all. It's an easy problem, pre-algebra. Doing it after that. The only part you have to remember geometry is opposite angles congruent. The rest of it is pre-algebra skills. So solve for 1, you get y is 50. Put it down there. Now, this angle is not 50, it's 50 plus 10, so it's 60 degrees. Same with this one. These are supplementary. So if that's 60, that makes this angle right here 120 degrees. So I said that 120 equal to 4x divided by 4 on both sides, and you get 30. Okay, now your x might have come out to be a decimal, and that's fine. You write down the exact answer. If it's a repeating decimal, 0.3 repeating bar, you put 0.3 repeating bar. Or you can write it as a fraction, either one. On the decals, I'll tell you either exact answer or round to the nearest tenth or whatever the case may be. Okay, and you just follow directions. This is why you always go back and read the directions. Number 8, we have a parallelogram. Okay, so we know opposite sides are parallel. So therefore, parallel lines cut by transversal, alternate interior angles are equal. So 1 has to be congruent to 3. So once we find 3, then we know it's also 1. So 1 and 3 have to be the same answer. You shouldn't be giving me different answers. Well, 75 and 2 form a linear pair. That's been easy enough. So to get 2 for 105. And of course, then we have a linear pair this way, or vertical angle theorem right here. So now we have 75 and a 50 is 125. Well, these three angles make a triangle. So 125 from 180 is 55 degrees. So that's angle 3, and therefore it's also angle 1, AIA. Number 9, find x and y, so each quadrilateral is a parallelogram. So I have to know my 5 sufficient conditions. And the ones dealing with the diagonals is if both pairs of diagonals bisect each other in a quadrilateral, then it's a parallelogram, which is the sufficient condition itself. So I have to make the diagonals bisect, which means I have to make them equal each other. That has to equal that, and that has to equal that. So that's what I did. I set them equal each other. Why is these two equal each other, and then these two each other, and solve pre-algebra problem. You can really do it in your head, but I'm showing you all your work right here. You still need to show it on the test, even though you should be able to do it in your head. And this happened to be the exact same one that was on the practice tests. So I don't know why anybody's missing this at all. That means you're not studying. 3 and 14, okay, and it had all this answer already on the practice test. And yet we still have people missing that one. Number 10, is this one of the 5 sufficient conditions of a parallelogram? No, it's not. Okay, it's not one of the 5 sufficient conditions. If it was, the one that's closest to this one is our very first one right up here. One set of lines is, or segments is parallel, or are parallel and congruent. Notice we only have one set parallel. These congruent symbols need to be here and here on the same set as we had right up here. Then it would have been a parallelogram. There is not one that says opposite sides parallel and another opposite sides congruent. There's not one of those. Memorize those 5 sufficient conditions. Speaking of that, on the DCAS in the past, what they've had is they'll list the 5 to choose from and say which one is not one of the sufficient conditions. So they'll have 4 of them listed there, and one of them is not. The one that most people pick as being not, unfortunately, because they don't have memorized, is this one itself. So make sure you have this one memorized. Okay. All right. Number 11, we have a rectangle, so we know that the diagonals, the main property under diagonal, under a rectangle, besides the definition itself, is that the diagonals are congruent. And so it gives me AC and BD, so I just set them equal to each other and solve. Okay, and I get x equals 11/3. Okay, but then I have to go back and read the question. The question has to find dB, the actual length. So now I got to plug that into BD or DB, same thing. So 11 thirds, which is 3 and 2/3, plus 4 is 7 and 2/3. So DB is 7 and 2/3. Here's your final answer right there. Okay, that's your answer. All right, 12. Last time I did it one way, so I'll just explain it verbally that same way and then do it a different way on this one in case this is easier for you. So last way I did it, we have a kite here. You need to recognize this as a kite, and this is the line of symmetry. It splits the kite in half exactly, so it's mirror on both sides. Okay, so since this, and these are called the vertex angles. Okay, these would be the non-vertex angles, vocab-wise. So this line of symmetry splits this angle in half. So if angle A is 22, then each side of it's 11. If C is 84, each side of it is 42. So I'd have 11 and a 42 there, plus the X to add up to to add up to 180 for a triangle, these three angles. So that's how I showed you last time. But another way you can do it as well is, since I have that angle 22 right there, that angle 84, and these have to be the same. So X plus X is 2X. Then I have all the interior angles of a quadrilateral, which is 360 degrees, not 180. Then I just combine like terms in pre-algebra from here on out. Combine like terms, solve for X, and you get 127. So two different ways of doing that one. 13. This is a median, also called a mid-segment in some books as well. And we know that if we double that, which you see TS is X minus 1, double that, that equals the sum of the two bases. Now the common error, notice I put 50 plus 18 because so many of you who blew this only did the bottom base. You didn't add, even though you had it written 18 up here, you didn't add the two together to get 68. And so blew your whole answer. Okay, so 50 plus 18 is 68. I can divide by 2 right away and get 34, add the one across. You could have also distributed and then just solved it and got the same answer. Okay, so X is 35. Now I can guarantee I'm right by plugging that back in. 35 minus 1 is 34, so I'm saying that length right there must be 34. Does that make sense? Is that half of the sum of these two bases? That's 68. Half of 68 is 34, so that makes sense. Okay, if you only did use the 50 as a lot of you did, you obviously didn't go back and plug it in and check that that is not half of the sum of the two bases. All right, next one, 14. Again, we have a parallelogram right here, so we know opposite angles are congruent. So they gave me angles K and M, so I know that those have to be congruent. Set them equal to each other. Then that's the only geometry part of that. Now it's pre-algebra, 7th grade math from there. Okay, solve for X, you get X equals 13. Okay, did it ask for X? No, it didn't. Ask for angle J. Well, I know that consecutive angles, either these two or these two, are supplementary. Same thing, same side interior angles are supplementary. So I find out one of these angles, either that one or that one, they're the same, and I just make it supplementary to that angle, and then I can find angle J. So I take that X equaling 13, I chose to put it into here. So 2 times 13 is 26, plus the 23 is 49, which I showed right up here. So angle M is 49. And we know then these two are supplementary, which is they add to 180. So 180 minus 149 is 131. Should be easy. Basic math, pre-algebra stuff is all it is. Okay, state if these numbers will form a triangle. Remember the smallest two have to add to being greater than the third side, the longest side. Is 5 plus 7, is that greater than 13? No, it's less than 13. So the answer is no. You could have also written not greater than. That actually would have been better. So you're showing that it has to be greater than 13. Okay, and it's not. So therefore the answer is no. But I would have taken either way. Okay, find the range. We talked about that in class. I see some people forgot to put their less than symbol here and less than symbol here. Meaning this is less than, X is greater than this one and X is less than this one. We talked about it. I don't know why people are missing this. Anybody can remember 12 minus 8 is 4 and 12 plus 8 is 20. I don't know why that was difficult at all. It's the easiest one on the entire test. Okay. Number 17, order the side lengths. I even pointed this out in the last video. I don't know why people don't know what a side length is. Side length is this, this, and this. Those are segments. That means you must have segment bars above them. I told you this in the last video. And we had people writing down angles here. It didn't say order the angles. It says order the side lengths. Number 18 says order the angles. And we had people writing side lengths on this one down here for some reason. So you missed everything on both of them. Read the directions and follow the directions. And then you have to order it from least to greatest on this one and greatest to least on this one. You got to pay attention to the order. On the DCAS, it'll be multi-choice, and one will go least to greatest, and A, if this was a question, then A would probably go greatest to least to see if you're paying attention. A on this one would probably go least to greatest to see if you're reading it correctly. You have to read the directions, make sure you're answering. So after you think you have the answer, you go back and read the whole question again. Did I order it right? Did I answer the right question? You should be doing that on every single problem. Okay, so now we just put in the angle measures. And all I have to do is I know the angle form the opposite side. That's why you see these arrows right here. And so we want it from least. What's the smallest number here? 50. That form that side. So AB is the smallest. 52 is the next smallest angle. That form BC. So BC is the next. And of course 78 is the longest then. AC should be 3 points. Same with this one. I put in the lengths here. And those lengths are associated with this opposite angle. So therefore, it wanted greatest least. What's the greatest number of these three? 9 is. So that means angle A is greatest. 8 is the second greatest B. And C is the smallest. Again, should be 3 points. And here, I sent a simple video on it, number 19. Showed you exactly what to do on it, just for this problem alone. So if you didn't do it, you didn't watch the video. This will be easy. It's like Pythagorean theorem, a squared plus b squared and c squared. It's all this. This is always c squared on the left side, and you put a squared and b squared over here. Of course, a and b don't matter which they are because you're adding them. You put a blank in between until you get the final answer of both sides to see if it's going to be less than, greater than, or equal to. Okay, so we have 11 squared blank 5 squared plus 9 squared. This is the work I should be seeing. So you get 121 finally is greater than 106. Since c squared is greater than a squared plus b squared, it's obtuse. If it was equal to it, it'd be right. If c squared was less than it, it'd be acute. You have to have this memorized. Okay. That was 1920. Last two here. Okay. Angle C is 79. Well, it told me these are midpoints. So that means this is a mid segment right here. Okay. So mid segment, we know the bases, this segment is parallel to the base. Corresponding angles are equal, and this length is half of this length. Exactly half. Remember, because you can think of this as this plus 0 for the other base, because there's no base here, it's a point. So it's 0 plus that's just going to be really that. Half of that. Okay? So I can move that 79 up there because we have parallel lines cut by transversal. Corresponding angles are congruent. I should see that written right on your paper. I don't understand why people aren't doing that. Then it says, I show it right here, just like I did in the last video. No different. It's all about whether you choose to memorize or not. Angle B, 35. So now we have, and we want this angle right here, DBE. I'm sorry, BDE. Okay, so we know these three angles add up to 180. X plus 35 plus 79 equals 180. X plus 114 equals 180. Subtract it across. Now it's just all this is pre-algebra. 66 degrees. Okay, right there. Now, even simpler, it says DE is 13. Well, we know if that's 13, that's exactly half of this. So 13 times 2 is 26. 3 points. C, DE. Again, it's the same idea as this one, except for now we have algebraic expressions. So it's a little more work. We have a little pre-algebra to have to do after we double this. Just like we doubled it here. Get this answer. Double that equals the base, 4x minus 2. Distributive property, subtract the 2x across, add the 2 across, divide by 2, and x is 2. And that's what it asks for, x is 2, and you're done. Last one, 21. This is centroid. So again, you have to have we just did the whole last worksheet was on the centroid. So if you're missing that, that means you weren't doing your last worksheet. You did tons of problems on the centroid on your whole last worksheet, that and the median. So that whole last worksheet was this right here for this problem. And yet we had people missing parts of this. Instead of getting it all right, you did front and back just multiple times just for this particular problem right here. Okay. Okay. So you gotta know the small segment of the median compared to the longer one is 1 to 2, or the longer one to the smaller one is 2 to 1 ratio. The whole thing would be 3 parts. 2y plus 1y is 3y. So if I was comparing this long one to the whole, it'd be 2 to 3. If I was comparing the shorter one to the whole length, it'd be 1 to 3 for my ratio. Since on this problem, well, let's just go through it here. GF says AG is 11. AG is the longer one of the two. So that's 11 right there. That's double the smaller one, 2 to 1. So what's half of 11? 5.5. Then it asks for the whole length. Add them together, 16.5. AD, so remember this is the midpoint because these are medians. Since this is a centroid, it goes from the vertex to the median to the midpoint of the opposite side, which means these are equal. So again, AD equals DC, just semicolon each other. Now it's a pre-algebra problem. You solve it. So this is B down here. Solve it and you get X equals 14/3. Okay, that's fine. That's the exact answer. Or you can change it to a mixed number, 4 2/3. But then you got to go back and read the question. It didn't ask for just X. It asked for the length of AC, which is the entire length, which means I find either one of those and just double it. Okay. So you just have to show which one is easier to plug into. AD is the easier one. I have the 4 2/3 right here. Just plug it right in for 1x. So 4 2/3 plus 8 is 12 2/3. That's for half of it. Now I times that by 2. 2 times 12 2/3 is 25 1/3, or 25.3 repeating bar if you use a decimal. Okay, next one, CG. Again, that's the longer piece of the two. So that's 2 compared to CE, 3 parts. 2 to 3 is the ratio. Again, it's the same one I showed you on the last practice test. Okay, so this distance, which is x plus 5, equals 2/3 of the whole distance. The whole distance was 2x minus 8, so I have 2/3 of that. Okay, well, I don't want a fraction, so I want to get rid of that 3. So multiply both sides by 3, just like we did in the last practice test you saw in the video, to clear the fraction. So I get 3 times x plus 5 is 3x plus 15, and then 3's cancel here, so now you're left with 2, distributing the 2 through there. And you get 4x minus 16. Subtract the 3x across, add 16 across, x is 31, and that's what they wanted, 31 for the x. And lastly, DG is 8, and they want you to find BG. Well, this is the smallest segment. It's exactly half of the longer segment, so 8 to 16. So BG is 16. Okay, and that ends this. So study this up, memorize it all. Again, you'll get it very similar to it. Change numbers, change probably this shape out right here. I might change that shape out, might change that shape out. Okay, might change that shape out, but everything else will stay the same because you'll just have different numbers put in for it. All right, that does it. You have again a week, so until next Thursday to retest.